We want the truth, so watch Truth Wanted live Fridays at 7 p.m. Central. Visit tiny.cc/YTTW and call into the show at 512-991-9242 or connect to the show online at tiny.cc/calltw.
So you think that you can tell us how to live our lives, never questioning the source from which your moral code derives. You think that suffering is part of some great plan that's been devised. I wonder, what will it take for you to start opening your eyes? I wonder.
Hey everybody, welcome. We are here live on the Atheist Experience. It is April 3rd, 2022. I'm Matt Dillahunty, joined this week, Apostate Prophet. Welcome, sir.
Hello. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How's your Sunday going?
Very, very nice.
I'll tell you what, we've got a number of things to get to, but I want to jump right into callers. And as a reminder, I've got this amazing full minute policy now, where once we get past the little hello, how you doing? What do you want to talk about? And it's time for you to make your case. You're going to get a full minute, provided you're not like a raging jackass or whatever else. And then you get more time if you do it well. And in some cases, I was back up for Talk Heathen today, and I posted out on Twitter that, that people needed to call in, because if they were particularly good on Talk Heathen, or if there was something troubling, they might also be able to call into Atheist Experience. So we can get cross-platform support for stuff. So that's what the minute's like. I'm going to go ahead and we'll start here with this one, because I just think that Samuel may have something that we can get through kind of quickly. Welcome, Samuel, to the show. Pronouns are he, him, in Utah. Wow. How you doing?
I am well, Matt. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How can we help? Or what do you got for us?
Well, long-time listener, first-time caller. I've heard you use the model for explaining morality of the game of chess.
Sure.
And I really enjoy the model, and I've been thinking about it a lot this last week. And I believe that it merits an expansion. Are you open to that idea?
Why would it merit an expansion? What is it missing?
Well, so for me, what it's missing is you use it to transition the conversation of morality from a subjective view over to an objective view. And I think that where the subject gets a little deeper, in using your chess analogy, is that we can agree on the rules of chess, but we are grounded by an objective morality before we agree to the rules. And that objective morality, or the objective rules of chess, are dictated by the board and the pieces. As in, you couldn't apply the example of, or the rules of, say, basketball to the game of chess. And I would argue that morality starts from an objective position because it's rooted in our biology. Our biology is the board and the pieces from whence the conversation of the rules starts from.
So what you're suggesting has already been completely covered and included in my example.
How do you mean?
How do I mean? Have you listened to my lecture on the superiority of secular morality, where this thing originates, and the fact that we are physical creatures in a physical universe, and the physical facts about the universe dictate what is and isn't in our interest and of our well-being? That's where the rules for life come from. The rules from chess could be arbitrary, or they could be derived from physical things. There's nothing to expand. It's already included.
Right, but and maybe I'm missing a point. Maybe I'm missing a point. about it, because in my head, morality comes to us from two basic sources. It's the rules that we agree on. We've gotten to the point that we can consciously together decide what the rules are. But before even that, we have a morality that comes to us from our biology.
No. I'm saying no to literally everything you're spewing forth right now. The rules about what is or isn't in our interest of is or isn't in our best interest with respect to well-being. Those aren't things that we make up.
So, give me just. I'm ordering my thoughts. So, I guess
I tell you what. Why don't we? Since this is you doing some speculative interrogation of a model that we haven't even presented today, why don't you just email me, because I don't think this is good for the show.
Okay. Well, then I apologize.
No, that's all right. I took the call. You called in. Send an email. It's a lot easier, because if you're still formulating your thoughts, it's better you put them all together.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's fair, Matt. Appreciate it.
Sure. Catch you later. On that note, thanks everybody for tuning in. We got a bunch of people over there already in the live going crazy. Be sure you hit the like button there and let other people know. Phone lines are actually full, and we've already covered the full minute policy, but there's a few things that I want to mention, and that is that if you are in the chat right now, we appreciate it. Thanks for showing up and chatting. If you're there just to stir up trouble or preach in chat, you should call the show, because calling the show will get you more time and more attention than just spewing nonsense in chat. So you can kind of avoid that stuff. But if you want to help support this program and the Atheist Community of Austin and all of our other efforts as well, there's a donation link if you're watching us right now, just down below the chat, kind of over there. That away. I don't know which way, because my monitors are set up different from. I'm lost. It's confused. And in any case, you can donate there. You can also support us by purchasing yourself some merchandise. They'll have a link up there for where you can go to get ACA merch. It's tiny.cc/merch ACA. There's a number of other ways, including becoming a member on the YouTube channel, which gets you special icons, and we'll get you out of slow mode if we turn slow mode on, although I don't think we have it on now. And you can go to patreon.com/TheAtheistExperience to support us there as well. If you want to interact, not only can you show up and chat live in the chat associated with the live YouTube stream, but there's the unofficial Facebook group, or a couple unofficial Facebook groups that we like to promote. One of them is the Atheist Experience fan group, and that's at tiny.cc/FBAXP. And the other one is the private fan group. It's exclusive and secret. tiny.cc/FBAXPPR. And there's also the unofficial ACA Discord that you can visit. Normally, or on many occasions, the host and co-host will spend some time after the show's over in the Discord. Unfortunately, we both have obligations and won't be there today, but I know there will be people there to interact with and have conversations and discussions. And if you have questions or concerns or feedback that you'd like to get to the Atheist Experience crew or the ACA, you can email tv@atheist-community.org. Now that all those pesky announcements are out of the way, we have Max in Oregon who wants to talk to us about Noah's flood. So welcome, Max. How are you?
Hi, Matt. Doing good. I hope you're doing well as well. I hope you're doing good after the that surgery.
I'm
a
fine,
long-time
thanks.
follower. Yep. Good. Yeah, I had a sort of a logical argument, since you like those, that I want to present regarding Noah's flood. And because that happens, it's a fact that can be shown, demonstrated by evidence, that sort of adds credulity to the truth claims made in the Bible.
Hang on for just a second. So you say you have a logical argument for Noah's Ark that is supported by evidence, right?
For the flood, Noah's flood, yes.
Oh, not the Ark.
or
Just the
rather,
flood?
I rather say that the body of evidence presented just in the natural world that we've observed and discovered lends credence to a global flood event.
Can I ask a
Okay.
clarification? Do you have specific evidence or argument for specifically Noah's flood, or do you have arguments and evidence that something like that could possibly happen or could have happened?
Well, I'll answer those questions in reverse, if you don't mind, in reverse order. Do I have evidence that something like that could have happened? It's not that I have the evidence; it's that the evidence exists for something like.
Okay,
a
I'm already just
As-
irritated as fuck at your ridiculous pedantic stuff. So here, let's start the clock. You've got a minute. Demonstrate that a global flood occurred.
All right. Well, I'll demonstrate it. So, am I on the clock? Is it going? Okay, good.
It's going.
I'll
Waste some more
say
time.
All right. All right. So, what is a flood? Is that it's a massive body of liquid. All right. Now, when I watch the show, my pussy floods with ejaculate to the point where it floods. It floods.
Cardi B would be proud of your argument for a global flood. Thanks so much for calling. I I love the fact that we now have you on caller ID, so that you will no longer waste the time of any of the other people who are so patiently sitting here. As a matter of fact, here's Anthony in Virginia, pronouns are he, him, wants to talk about whether or not naturalism can be ruled out. So welcome, Anthony. How are you?
I'm fine. Sorry, I'm still laughing about that. I called last week, Matt, and when I went back and watched the video, I just think I did a terrible job. So I wanted to try round 2 if you have the patience to indulge me.
I have no idea if I have the patience or not, because I have people calling with obvious pranks. So at least you're not a prank caller. So welcome. You can talk to Apostate Prophet and myself and see if you can make your case.
I will help Matt with the patience. I have a little bit patience, so please go ahead.
All right, I'm ready. I don't know if you want to put a timer, but
Start the clock.
all right. Well, basically, atheists, one thing I hear atheists say is that there's no good evidence or no good reason to believe in God. When I was basically trying to argue last week is that there actually is good reason. If a person believes that the forces of nature acting alone, unaided, cannot produce something we observe in nature, namely life, then at that point it does become reasonable to believe that some sort of intelligence may have played a part or may have been the cause. And that would serve as a reasonable basis for belief in God or some sort of intelligent creator. And I wanted if you would just simply agree to that premise.
No, absolutely not. It's the most ridiculous thing that's been presented. And I just had somebody prank call. You just said that there is good reason. And what I typed as you wrote it was this: if a person believes that the forces of nature acting alone are insufficient to begin life, then it's reasonable to believe that there is a creator. That's not the way reason works. You don't get to say, if I believe the moon is made of green cheese, it's reasonable to believe that mice would love it. That is an incredibly flawed argument, start to finish. There is nothing useful in it at all.
I think the actual argument is even much worse than your example that you just gave. So I don't even get it.
Well, all right, let me try to reformulate it. Basically, we know that intelligence
On the fly?
can.
Wait a minute. You had an entire week after failing miserably last week, and the first thing you come up with is absolutely a train wreck, and you think you're going to reformulate this on the fly? Are you sure?
Well,
you sure you don't want to take a week and call back?
Let me answer the point. Maybe try to respond to the point you made is a better way to. We know that intelligent agents can produce ends much more quickly than unaided forces of nature. So if we can say that the forces of nature are extremely unlikely to have caused something to have happened, namely the origin and diversification of life.
Stop.
It's
Stop, Anthony. You're done. What you said was, we know that intelligent agents can produce more quickly than forces of nature. That's actually not true. It's not something we know. In some cases, an intelligent agent may be able to produce something more quickly than nature. In other cases, nature is going to be more quick in achieving certain things, or the blind acts of nature, than intelligent agents. So even your attempt to reformulate on the fly got you immediately to another horribly flawed premise. I suggest you go take time and think about this and come back with something that you've thought about that actually addresses this.
Can we talk
I
about
think-
the evidence for
I
evidence?
think
No.
in all honesty, if you make this argument and if you think this really overturns all the the naturalistic perspective and the scientific findings that we have, I think what you should do with that is not to call in here. With all due respect, what you should do with that is to go and challenge the scientific community and present this as compelling arguments, get your hypothesis accepted, and get a prize or some great recognition. Obviously, it won't achieve that. I'm sorry. It's just, I'm not a scientist, but I have to say it just sounds like a very absurd premise to begin with.
But there are people.
Nope. Moving on. There are 8 or 9 people on hold waiting to present their case. You had a week to think about your case, and you came in with a horribly broken example. And when I pointed out how it was broken, you wanted to reformulate it on the fly, and you went to another horribly broken example. I refuse to waste the time of myself, my co-host, the people watching, and all the people on hold so that you can strike 3. I'm done with 3 strikes. 2's enough. Here we have John in Sweden. Pronouns are he, him, wants to talk to us about coming out to family. So welcome, John.
Hi, guys. Hi, Matt. Hi, AP. How you doing?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Matt, just want to say it's a super awesome pleasure to be talking to you. I'm a huge fan, and I've been watching you for a long time. I called 2 weeks back, actually. I was like the favorite caller of Shannon. And I just want to get right into it, actually. I'd like to ask you, and this is like mostly directed to AP also, since he's an ex-Muslim. Since he's an ex-Muslim, and I am currently a Muslim. Just wanted to ask him and you, how did you basically come out to friends and family and just, hit them with this fact that you just no longer believe? Because I'll just tell you from my point of view, from my case, is that every time I talk about it, we have huge fights at the dinner table. They're super disappointed. They threaten to cut me out of the family, of the inheritance. And it hurts, it hurts me a lot. And I want to know what you guys think.
Well, I don't understand one thing. You said you are a Muslim. Isn't that what you just said?
Yes, I am. I am a Muslim, but it's basically how Richard Dawkins said in his book of the God Delusion, how he's a 6.9 out of 7 confidence that there is no God. I am basically that 0.1.
Okay, so
you get me?
It's just I'm just a little bit confused. When you say I'm a Muslim, that kind of tells me or implies that you believe in Islam, that you believe in the Islamic religion and its truth claims about the Quran and a deity and Muhammad as a prophet and all that. But on the other hand, you ask about coming out as an atheist and arguing, with your family and friends and how that could be done, and you say you would do that. So what I don't understand is, do you believe in the Islamic religion and its claims, or do you not believe, but you just identify as a Muslim for different reasons?
Okay, AP, to cut it basically short, I'm on the way on becoming an atheist. And okay. I'm just thinking, and it's just very hard for me to utter these words out that I am an atheist. It's very difficult for me. So
I understand.
I'm sure you understand.
I do. I mean, it really, it's hard to say. It's hard to give advice from my perspective and from my position. I know of many Muslims or of many ex-Muslims who have a very tough time and who experienced extremely terrible things, like people who had to leave the country because their families or relatives or former friends or others were threatening their lives in serious ways, or because they are persecuted and all that. I know, on the other hand, others who leave Islam and want to tell their family members and others, but their only fear is just that they will be disowned and that people will no longer talk to them. Now, I'm in a position where I'm an ex-Muslim. I told my parents and others. What it led to is not that my life is necessarily directly in danger just for leaving Islam, but that people that I knew from my childhood, my family and relatives, cut ties with me and now have a very bad relationship with me. So I'm not exactly sure in what position you are in and what the consequences of leaving and announcing that would be for you. So it's hard in my position to give you advice. What I normally say is, if you have the means to be self-sufficient, to look out for your own needs, to work, to make money, and to do something with your life, and you think, just damaging your relationship won't hurt you that much, I would suggest just doing that, just saying, hey, guys, I simply do not believe anymore because of these and these and these reasons. But if there's more at stake, I would just see, this is the thing. I just don't really know what to say. But
I'm curious because you talked about getting into arguments about this stuff. So what's happening? And I'm mostly staying out of it because I'm neither a Muslim nor an ex-Muslim. But I have a number of ex-Muslim friends, and I can't imagine any of them having arguments like at the dinner table about Islam, and it just not turning into something like how could it be that they don't know that you are at a minimum having serious doubts?
Matt, it's not about the Quran or Islam in general. It's about God. This is what I'm saying. So I do not believe in, prophets and miracles and all that crap. It's just the thing about God in general. And it keeps going through my head, and like there's not the slightest shred of evidence that a God does exist. But at the same time, I've been conditioned when I was a child to believe. So it's like a virus in my software, which I cannot get rid of.
What is the problem and what are you hoping for exactly? Sorry for interrupting, but do you need to convince yourself that you are right? Do you need to convince your family that you are right, or does that not matter and you just want to openly embrace your atheism and move on?
Actually, AP and Matt, I would like to ask you for a favor, and the favor is, can you please convince me how to take this step, and how do I go around it? What would be your best advice?
Which step exactly? Around what exactly?
Letting go of a creator, God, Allah, Jesus, Yahweh, whatever you want to call it.
Matt, what do you say?
Well, my thing is, you're either convinced there's a God or there's not. And if you're not convinced, then there's nothing to let go of. You've already done it. What you're hanging on to at that point is not your belief in a God, but you're trying to find a way to not have to face the inevitable consequences of acknowledging that. Because, like when I stopped believing in a God, there's no choice involved. There's no decision involved. It just became, hey, previously I was convinced and now I'm not convinced. And as soon as I'm not convinced, it would be absurd for me to ask, gosh, how do I stop believing in God? Because at that point, I already have. And instead, we're talking about something else. So if your position is you don't believe in a God, then my answer is you're done. Now your real question is, how do I go on with the rest of my life and interact given this new position that I have?
Okay, I see. So I just wanted to add that I'm sorry. Yeah, I just wanted to add to that one thing. So, is there a problem in your view of living my life, believing that there might be a chance that there is a creator, and at the same time believing in what you guys believe in, which is there's no such thing as absolute morality, evolution is a fact, being skeptic, being a humanist, helping others in need.
Well, let me tell you how I did it. I think I can give myself as an example here. I was a very devout Muslim. I believed in it, very much. I was completely convinced that Islam is the truth, and I actually loved it when at that time that I believed in it. When I stopped believing in Islam, it wasn't, as Matt said, it wasn't like it was not something that I had to had to really acknowledge. It was it just happens in my head. I can no longer believe that Islam is true, but that was the first step. It took me a while to then come to, okay, there is no God. Once I realized that Islam is not true, I thought to myself, hey, I did my best. I did everything I can. I know Islam really brutally indoctrinates me and tells me that if I simply make this mistake and don't believe in him, then I will be brutally tortured in hell and all that. But I thought, hey, if there is really a God, and according to the scripture, he gave me this brain and this mind, and he wants me to think, then he will know for sure that I did my best to follow the truth and to find out whether he is real or not. With that, I accepted that and internalized that and moved on. And then slowly, facing the realities, allowing myself to question and letting go of God completely came later on with time. That's what I did. But every person works differently.
You say that, and I agree with you that for every person it works differently. But here I am coming from a background of Southern Baptist, fundamentalist, etc., and you're coming from a background of Islam, and what you just described is fundamentally identical to what my process was of looking at this. Now, I don't know if that how that helps John, but I would say, John, that if you're at the point where you are in fact not convinced that a God exists, then the new question isn't how do I give up believing in God? It's more along the lines of how do I give up acting as if I believed in that God? It's like, how do I give up engaging in religious services or the religious language around, my friends and family, etc. That's going to be a different question, because for me, it was pretty straightforward and easy. It was, I'm just going to live my life as me. But the consequences for me being an atheist in, modern United States aren't the same as it is for being an atheist in Bangladesh or for being an ex-Muslim in a number of different places where
anywhere.
It could be anywhere where your life is at risk. And so I don't want to downplay this as if it's an easy thing. But I would say the real question you got to ask isn't how do I give up belief in a God, but how do I give up acting as if I still believe? And that's going to, part of that is going to be in you building a network of people around you that are supportive and helpful and aren't tied to your old religion.
I think that was perfectly put.
Yeah, sorry, Matt, I just wanted to stress on one point. Actually, AP, you said something which was very interesting. You said that it took you a while till you realized that there is no God. But the thing is, we don't know if there is a fucking God or not. Excuse my language. We don't know this.
You're excused.
Reality doesn't prove or disprove these kind of things. No one can prove it. And as you said, Matt,
I agree.
Whoever proves that there is a God will win a Nobel Prize the next day. And it's not possible. Everyone comes up with these bullshit arguments, and it's just not possible. So what if we're wrong, and what if, Matt, you are wrong, and there is an megalomaniacal God who is selfish, who is a narcissistic, racist, slave who supports slavery? What if this is the reality? What if it's just that's it? Life is a bitch, and that's how it is.
But do you have any? I mean, do you have any reason to believe that that is actually true? Because I get atheists deal with their atheism differently. I deal with mine in a in such a sense that I just consider the whole God question nonsensical, because it's God is a non-cognitive term. It's not something that you can actually compare to something that exists in reality, and then based on that figure out whether it is whether that God exists or not. God is just a concept that people shape and explain according to their religions and their needs. If you want to believe that God exists, then you will simply rationalize and somehow bring that God into existence in your mind. What you have to figure out is you are told to believe in God by certain religions that come with certain teachings and doctrines. In the case of Islam, or in the case of Christianity, for example, you are told about a God who desires your absolute belief and submission, and if you don't believe in him, then you will go to the bad place and experience suffering. Of course, in Christianity that's a little bit vague. In Islam it's much more graphically, brutally described. But then you have to ask yourself, I mean, I asked myself that, do you really believe that this God who sends you a message and wants you to believe in him will judge you and torture you and do terrible things for you for eternity because you were not good enough or not smart enough to acknowledge his existence, although you tried so hard?
Yeah.
I simply fail to believe that that is true.
Yeah. AP, it's just like I think to myself, if I was God and I was all powerful and all knowing, as Islam teaches us, why the hell would I even create a universe and put humans on a planet to worship me for my ego?
Exactly. It's a very
It
dumb
doesn't
thing
make
to do,
sense.
right? It's a very dumb thing to do.
So I'm kind of like contradicting myself. Excuse me for that, but it's just I like to ask a lot of questions, and I'm a serious skeptic, but I'm a Muslim at the same time. So,
Well, it's very good to know that you are seeking and that you are struggling, and it's not good to know that you are struggling, but it's good to know that you are seeking and admitting that to yourself and all that. And I wish you all the best on your journey ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, guys, for taking my call.
Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much. I
Best of luck.
appreciate it.
Bye.
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 Yeah. So that wasn't really a debate or discussion, which is what we get a lot of calls about. It was a little bit more of advice. And if you're the type of person that is struggling with your religion, I always like to recommend the Recovering from Religion website, which you can find at recoveringfromreligion.org. And if you are questioning and want to engage with theists and atheists of a variety of different views, there is the Atheist versus Theist debates group. Now, you can go there at tiny.cc/xpfandebates and engage in debates there. But you also have the opportunity to engage with people and say, hey, I'm struggling with this particular argument thing. It's more of an argument style platform than it is for help. If you watched earlier today, I was back up on Talk Heathen, which basically means I sit here in this chair the same way Kenneth is back up right now. I can see his smiling face. If my internet drops or Apostate Prophets drops, I shouldn't tell you this, but you get Kenneth, which probably means I'm going to suffer a DDoS attack right now just so he can get in here. But if you missed Talk Heathen today, you might have also missed the flagship program of the Atheist Community of Austin. That's the Nonprofits, which airs Sundays at 3 with new hosts and new segments right between Talk Heathen and Atheist Experience. If you missed any other content, you can go to tiny.cc/AEN podcasts. That is your one-stop destination for all of our programs as audio-only podcasts. So if you like AXP, but you don't want to see me or you don't want to see AP, then, you can get the audio only version there. But if you're not familiar with the other shows, you should really go there and give them a listen. We produce a lot of content covering everything from, human sexuality and family stuff on up to, okay, we're going to have a debate or we're just going to try and help somebody. And one of the reasons that you have access to those podcasts and why you get good clips with timestamps and other things are because of the crew who can throw themselves up on the screen now. Holy moly, there's a cat and everything. We've got perfect crew today. And by the way, some of those are working on audio, some of them are working on video, some of them are call screeners, some of them are taking notes, some of them are putting down timestamps of different calls. And there are others that are over in chat moderating there. I couldn't survive without this amazing crew doing all this work so that we can just sit here and talk and have fun. We get to have all the fun, AP.
We truly do. We really do.
I don't know how I stumbled into this gig where I get to have all the fun and none of the actual work, but
I don't know how I did. I mean, yeah.
Javier in Iowa, pronouns are he, him, wants to talk to us, doesn't know if he's an atheist or not, and wants to ask some questions. So welcome, Javier.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, Javier. How are you?
Hey, I wanted to know what the difference was between Islamophobia and transphobia, because I've been called Islamophobe for quite a while, and then I've been called transphobe just for the recent months. But what's the difference? I take it the same way. Does it mean anything? But I wanted to know your guys' take. Like, I've been called a racist, and I'm Hispanic. So, like, to me, words just really don't mean the same thing that they used to.
Matt?
And so I want to know what your guys' take. Like I said, I've been called Islamophobe for 5-7 years maybe, but I'm not. I really don't fear those people. And I don't have an aversion towards them, nothing.
I mean, obviously the two refer to completely different things and are hardly comparable. I don't even know. I don't even know what to say.
I would like to. Can you frame this question one more time?
Well, I've been called Islamophobe for quite a while, and then now I'm being called transphobic. I'm neither or. I don't fear Islamic people. I'm not. I don't have.
How do you know?
And fear towards them.
How do you know? How do you know you're not? What does it mean? What does it mean in your head for you to be transphobic, for someone to be considered transphobic, or something someone did to be considered transphobic? What's that mean to you?
Before I answer that. Okay.
No. Don't give me any before I answer that. You called in with a specific question. I'm asking. Stop talking when I'm talking. Stop talking when I'm talking. You called in. I'm trying to focus on your question. And in order to do that, I had to ask a follow-up question, because you seem to have decided that even though people are telling you that something you've done is transphobic, or that you are a transphobic person. Now, I don't judge a person and say that person is transphobic or that person is homophobic or Islamophobic, because I don't think we should summarize the entirety of someone's character. But to say that something that they did was transphobic, okay, fine. So my question to you is, if you're going to say that you haven't done something transphobic, what do you mean by transphobic?
Well, this is what I need to understand, because, like I said, I've been called Islamophobic, but I'm not. I don't fear anybody. You've been called Islamophobic, but I don't think you are. I really don't think you are. I don't think you have.
I think
I'm
Matt
wondering
asked
if
you
you're going to answer my question, or if you're going to keep talking about whether or not I've been called Islamophobic or whether AP's been called Islamophobic. I asked you to define what it means for you, for someone to do something transphobic. Are you going to do that or not?
Well, okay. Transphobic to me would mean what trans people have told me, that I don't like what they're doing. Just not even going along with them.
What they're doing, as in what, like their activities, eating ice cream.
Not agreeing that a person can be trans or whatnot. I mean,
so are you? Hang on. I need to ask you: are you suggesting that no one is trans?
I'm suggesting that no one is transphobic, not that no one is trans.
Well, you're clearly so.
Nobody's Islam.
No.
I have no idea what's going on. None of this makes any sense right now.
Javi, you really need to listen for a second. I asked you to describe what you mean by something being transphobic, because you say you're not being transphobic, and you have yet to come close to a definition, other than you said that some trans people told you that you're transphobic if you don't like what they're doing.
Agreeing with someone is considered transphobia. Like, if I don't believe...
No, sir. Merely disagreeing is not transphobia. It's not transphobic.
Well, then I guess I'm not transphobic then.
No, that does... Okay, that's not the way reason, logic, or transphobia works. Are you an idiot?
You just explained that, though.
No, the fact that X doesn't mean that you're transphobic doesn't mean that you're not transphobic. Okay?
So am I
Well, I don't know. Do you think that people can be trans?
This is what I mean. I think people can be Muslims. I just don't think they can be Muslim phobic or Islamophobic.
Oh my God, you fucking idiot. Listen to me and answer the question I asked you. Do you think that human beings can be trans?
In the same way that they can be confused, yes.
You're a transphobic piece of shit who argues dishonestly. Don't ever call my shows again.
Here's the problem, Matt. You also called him an idiot, and maybe he doesn't agree that people can be idiots. So
that's true. I agree that people can be idiots. What an absolutely dishonest call.
What the hell, man? Yeah.
I am Javier phobic.
Oh boy.
That's just wild. Oh man.
I need to recover from this. Do we have anything to
I tell you what, we're going to take a slight break to recover from this while I look through the rest of the calls. If you've missed what's happening on other shows, we've put together the standard weekly promo clip for you to check out so that you can see what you missed. Here you go.
This is so much more fun than the Atheist Experience. No one has yelled at me yet.
Right?
Do that. This is so pleasant.
Yeah, we've been talking about brains and porn, which are really like two of my favorite things. So we're in great shape.
So I believe that good arguments are like IKEA or Legos, that you can give me the pieces and the instructions and I can put them together for myself. Let's start by defining it. You tell me what critical race theory is and tell me how that is inherently causing people to become racist, please.
That no single church can afford that $100 million.
I just see it like a kind of thing like buy a Jesus, get your salvation for free.
Nice to speak to you, Kenneth. And I'm sorry, I forgot the other fellow's name.
Depending on what show, some people call me Giant Mike. I've gotten and J Mike and all sorts of things. So
they call him on his OnlyFans.
Yeah.
Mike.
Yeah. Sure.
They're officially recognized as haunted venues. They're called haunted.
Yes, they're officially recognized by batshit crazy people who are fans of haunted houses, just like gods are officially recognized by their devotees. I don't care whether something's officially recognized. I care whether or not there's actual evidence for it. All right, welcome back. We've got callers waiting here. And interestingly, we have Nikki in Oregon. Pronouns are she, her, was a strong Jewish atheist and did more research, found Jesus. Oh, wow. Welcome, Nikki.
Hey, Matt. Oh, my gosh. It's so good to talk to you. I just have so much respect for you. I love to watch your show.
We'll fix that.
When I was an atheist, so awesome. And AP, it's good to be on, to hear you. I've followed you as well. Both of you are just awesome. So I just wanted to,
Thank you.
And so I wanted to call in. Yeah.
Thanks. I'll try not to disappoint you, but I really have to know what it means when an atheistic Jew says they found Jesus. Where was he hiding?
In my closet. No, he was, I just, had I wanted a God, which I adamantly did not. I was like such a committed atheist, scientific method, and just people who knew me knew that I always said, too bad I don't believe in God, but I'm going to die without God. And, that's whatever. I just was really committed. And I had an experience. I was dying. I had pancreatic cancer along with MS. And I was dying, and unbeknownst to me, and this was weird because I didn't believe it either. And I found out a few years later that this lady who's a Christian had her whole friggin' nutty Christian church praying for me. And shit happened. I don't know what to tell you. It didn't make any sense to me. So I had this experience. I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, maybe
No.
You want me to tell you that?
Hang on. What experience do you think you had? Because what you've said so far is that you were a committed atheist who people would say, you ran around saying, too bad I don't believe in God. I'm a committed atheist. I don't ever say, too bad I don't believe in God. I think it would be horrible to believe in God. I have zero interest in believing in God. But the fact that one of the first things you said was that you pined, essentially, for God belief is interesting. I'm sorry that you were ill with pancreatic cancer and MS. But the fact that a Christian person had their church pray for you doesn't mean you've had an experience. What's the experience?
Okay, so you like brought up a few different things. I'm trying to follow you here. What specifically is your question? You listed a lot of things that I said.
I didn't list a lot of things. I reiterated what you said, and you said that you had an experience. I want to know what that experience is because you haven't described an experience.
No, I'm not going to because it's not something that I think that should be described on this show. I don't think if I had
okay, goodbye.
It would have made it. Okay.
Thanks for calling.
Bless you. Thank you.
I don't know what to do with you, Nikki. If you're not going to if you're going to call in and say, I was an atheistic Jew who found Jesus, and we ask you what you mean, and you say, I had an experience, and we ask you for the experience, and you say you're not going to talk about it. What exactly did you expect us to do?
I don't know. Just treat me with respect like I'm treating you with respect and not, I'll tell you.
I'm sorry, but did you call the Let Me Get Some Respect show, or did you call the Atheist Experience? I'm happy to give you respect, but you're not respecting us back. The respect here is we're giving you a chance to tell why you are now convinced there's a God, and you just said you won't do it. So why did you call?
I'm to share a different perspective, I guess, and to say that there could be another way forward. You don't have to stick to your worldview. You can humbly seek truth, I guess. That's why I call.
I'm humbly seeking truth. But you called in and you won't give us the truth. Go ahead.
Nikki, I think what Matt is trying to say is, I think what he's trying to say is, you called in and said that you were an atheistic Jew who found a Jesus, and you want to share that with us. Now, just we already got that part. I mean, we already know that you were an atheist and you found Jesus. We know this now, so that's not something that we further need to be informed on. But if you say that you found Jesus because of a specific experience, then it's expected that you share that experience with us. Otherwise, if you just want to say, I found Jesus, we already got that part, and there's nothing more further to discuss. And it's kind of...
What I want to say. This is what I want to say, though. So that experience led me, and so this is the key point. You can have...
What experience?
You go, well, I don't know if this is true. And then you search. So because I didn't have cancer and MS after that. I mean, like I woke up and I didn't have it. And so the doctors were saying this is kind of like a miracle. And I'm like, this is kind of weird for me. I'm an atheist. And I kind of knew what happened. I knew it had been Jesus. I just knew. I don't know how I knew. And I'm like, I definitely
what is the reason to believe that it was
know.
Jesus?
You do not know.
No. That's right. And so that's when I did the research and say, well, maybe
what research
is wrong. But let me.
What research did you do?
I did research. So
what research did you do?
But,
if I ask what research you did and you said I did research, that's not answering the question.
I did research into the historical, the scientific, the archaeological evidence, the philosophical arguments. I spent years doing this, and so it cumulatively added up. There wasn't just one fact that did it. I mean, it's not like, here it is. But it cumulatively added up. And then I started looking at scripture, and I didn't, before, it's like a donkey talking, what the hell? None of it had made sense ever before. And so I began to study that concurrently to looking up the scientific evidence, the philosophical evidence. And, that would take a really long time to summarize. But
how about let's do this,
I tell you what, would you say anything that is remotely useful to help us understand what happened? because
I'm really sorry for your experience and for what
Yeah.
you went through, and I'm glad that you found peace in your life and that you found meaning in your life. But so if you went through specific arguments and specific proofs to come to a certain point, is there just for the sake of being a caller on this show, could you present one argument or one specific thing that you want to talk about with us?
Sure, yes. I would say I would encourage people to put aside their biases, be humble, and then look at the other side. That's my whole.
oh my fucking God, Nikki. Goodbye.
My God.
No, it's your God. It's your God. He's fictional. And when somebody asks you to present something that people could potentially discuss, and you're just like, put aside your biases and be humble. You don't dare run around telling people you were an atheist because you were a skeptic, because you were an atheist because you understood reason and the burden of proof, because that's clearly false.
God bless you.
I don't think God will bless me because I don't think there's a God. But that's a good little dodge, Nikki, to not have to ever justify your claims. But you don't get to spread your lies here if you're not going to make an attempt to defend them. Goodbye.
Thank you, Nikki. But
whoops. Somehow or another, call-in studio got a little messed up here. Henry.
Hello.
In Estonia. I'm gonna. Yeah. What's your point today?
Well, my point is that God is real, and I have proof.
Okay. Yep.
Please go ahead. Do you want to put your timer on, Matt?
Yeah, go for it. Give him the minute.
If you go in front of a mirror, what do you see? You look in the mirror. You see yourself, right? So I'm saying that you are God. I think that
I'm not God. I'm not God. I don't need to give you a minute. If your argument is that I'm God, you're wrong. Have you got anything better than saying I'm God?
Yeah, well, what I'm trying to say is that the things that are described in religious traditions and so on, these are teachings of how to live a balanced life. So if you follow these laws, then
what laws?
So over time, people have discovered lots of.
Okay, so what I think you're saying is that people themselves established rules in life, be it moral rules or different rules, in order to form functioning societies and live better lives. Therefore, we made up gods. We are the actual gods. That's what I got from this. Is that right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's
thank you. I appreciate that.
Really bad thing. So
thank you. If that's your definition of God, then that's fine. I think Matt is not happy about that. But.
And I think that different religions are just describing the same thing, but other words. And same thing with science now. I think
it says here that you're a theist and that you believe a God is real. Do you just believe in a metaphorical God, or do you believe in an actual God?
What do you mean by metaphorical God?
Are you an atheist, or are you a theist? Do you acknowledge that there is no God and we just make this up, or do you still think God is real, but it's us?
Yeah, I think right now I think that it's us. It's when religious people are talking about Jesus and so on. I think it's language they use. That was used by people a long time ago to describe actual physical things, like, for example, the different parts of their nervous system. And somehow the things that the prayer and stuff like that, the virtues and deadly sins, somehow they are describing actually states of mind.
Could it be that you are completely overthinking this, and that we are just that you are just an atheist, and you just acknowledge that there is no God, and God is a creation made by humans in order to function better over time, and now it's time to realize that and move on? But there is no reason to overthink this issue and to say it's actually our nervous system or we who is God. Just there is no God. I mean, that's it. That's what I see.
well, there is God because it's an actual thing. It's just the language that's used a long time ago was different.
Oh my God!
What's going on today?
if every human being stopped existing, do you think a God still exists?
That's a good question.
Yes, I'm aware it's a good question. It's the one I've been trying to get to as to whether you believe in an actual God, an agent, an entity unto itself, or if you're just believing in a metaphor that is something that we produce. Which one is it?
Right now, I think it's more likely that it's something that we produce.
Yeah. I have zero interest in conversations about people saying, oh, here's what God is. Do you realize that there are billions of people on this planet who actually believe that there's a God who's a separate thinking agent beyond them, who created everything, who has rules about how they should live, and that they are killing each other and legislating on behalf of those rules? Are you aware that this is going on? Why on earth, in the face of that, would you call in to say, well, maybe God's just this thing that we produce that's kind of language? I mean, are you not aware of what's going on in the world?
I understand what you're saying, but just the fact that there's so
I don't think you are, especially since you listed your pronouns as King/Your Highness, which makes me not take you fucking seriously at all. So adios, Your Highness.
Thank you. Seriously, what is going on, Matt? What's
today
what's
is
happening
really
today?
weird.
What the hell is going on today? It's very strange.
I'm gonna talk less on this one here because it's specifically because he wants to talk to me in particular. So let's see if we can avoid that. Patrick in Florida evidently claims that talking to me has helped him develop faith, and wants to see what the host thought on that topic. If talking to me has helped you develop faith, then you don't understand reason. But welcome.
Hey, how you doing, Matt? I really appreciate you. But, from a personal God, if I could, get into this a little bit, I don't believe in a personal God per se, but I don't know about a metaphorical God. See, I'm really...
Okay,
anyway.
I'm no longer interested, Patrick. You identified yourself as a theist to our call screener. And when you say that you're a theist, that means you believe in a God. And now you're saying you don't believe in a personal God and you're not sure about a metaphorical God. So I'm going to drop you like a bad habit again. And when you figure out what your beliefs are, maybe you can call in and not lie to the call screener.
Oh, man.
It's so wild. Jacob, pronouns are he, him in Texas, wants to correct us that, if we're atheists, we should not be atheists. So welcome, Jacob.
Hi, how are you? Man, much respect, man. It's an honor to talk to you, man. I've studied you for years. This is crazy. First time talking to you. So let's just get right to it. As intelligent as you are, I've seen debates. I was an atheist. You, Christopher Hitchens, Sam Harris, Dawkins, all you guys turned me into an atheist when I was 26. I'm 33 now, and I'm definitely a full born-again Christian, straight up. So, yeah.
Okay. I want to make sure I understand this, because on the call screener thing, it says that you're saying if you're an atheist, you'd be crazy not to at least be a deist, which means you don't understand what an atheist is or what a deist is. And now you're saying that several of us made you an atheist when you were younger, and now you're a full-on Christian. So pick any one of those topics, either to defend your Christian belief or point out that we're crazy not to be deists, and I'll put a minute on the clock for you.
Yeah. Well, I said that to her because she said, she wants more of a specific, something more specific. So yeah, I do believe that. So we can.
You're on the clock.
Yes, thing or whatever. You said, I don't. Okay. I mean, you said I don't know what a deist is. A deist is the opposite of a theist, if I'm correct. Now, if I'm wrong, I don't have a problem being wrong.
You're absolutely. Stop the clock. We'll restart the clock. You are absolutely, completely, unequivocally wrong. A theist and a deist are not the opposites. Atheist and theist are opposites. A deist is someone who believes there's a deistic God, and a deistic God is a God that doesn't interact in reality in any detectable way, which means everybody who ascribes to deism is basically claiming that they've detected the undetectable. And I think it's absurd that you suggest that if we're atheists, we should be deists, because atheist and deist are essentially opposites, even though there's some ceremonial deism that people want to call sexed up atheism, but that's better described as pantheism. So does that clear all that up?
No, you're right. That's my fault. No, that's my fault. I probably got the term.
Sweet. Let's start, Jacob. Let's start completely over. We'll forget about your thing with atheism and deism. So let me start this call over. Hey, everybody. We've got Jacob on the phone. Pronouns are he, him, from Texas. Jacob used to be an atheist and is now a serious Christian. Welcome, Jacob. What have you got for us?
All right. Well, I wanted to kind of get into let me just ask you, okay, yeah, that's true. I used to be an atheist and I converted back to Christianity and whatnot. It's just kind of difficult because, like, what would be evidence to you? Because if I bring up personal experience, I've studied you guys long enough to know that wouldn't count for you because it's not your personal experience, which I think is a rational argument. You ask people to give you evidence, but any evidence that they give, even if it is credible, you would just shut it down anyway. So what is it, like a rhetorical question when you ask that, or like what would be evidence? And for the record, a deist in my brain, if I did have it wrong, but it didn't sound like it, is somebody who believes that there's a power, but it may not be Islamic, it may not be Christianity. That's what a deist was to me. That's why I said that. I didn't mean to necessarily like make a dichotomy between that and atheism, but
that's just theism. If I say I'm a deist and I cannot be a Christian or a Muslim at the same time, so that's Matt was completely right there.
Oh, I did. Yeah. But go ahead.
Well, we gave you a full minute to say whatever it was you needed to say, and all you did was accuse me of not accepting credible evidence. Why don't you present credible evidence? What credible evidence converted you from being an atheist back to being a Christian?
I was doing my studies as I always do, and there's a certain minister that, that's not evidence to you. It's a minister. It's ministry. But I had a personal experience. I had a supernatural experience, just praying and repenting and accepting, humbling myself and accepting God. So that's why I asked that question. I'm not trying to be a jerk. It's just like, would there be any evidence for you? Is there only evidence for you that God pops his head out the sky and says, "Hey, it's me"? That's what I'd like to know.
You know what? I want to give you an example of what I would accept as evidence that there is, not even that there is a God, but that there is something greater, that there is something strange going on. If somebody made a live broadcast, somebody who is, I'm sorry for this example, but somebody who is missing a leg, for example, makes a live broadcast, everyone can see that this person is clearly missing a leg. We even have a heavy doctor's report. This person prays for a leg to come to him, and then we all see very clearly that a leg descends from the sky, navigates itself directly to him, and perfectly attaches itself to that guy's incomplete body, and thereby perfects him. And now he has a leg. We all see that leg actually comes down from the sky. I would then think, wait a minute, there's something really strange going on here. Although I'd have to figure out what exactly is going on. Other than that, philosophical arguments, possibilities are simply not evidence to me, as far as I can see.
So evidence for you would be if somebody was praying for something miraculous, and all eyes could see a leg fall out of the sky in deep.
Yeah, and by miraculous, I don't mean somebody being healed from an illness that can go away or can heal by itself. What I mean is really actually something that is completely beyond our understanding of how the natural world functions, like the leg descending from the sky.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel that type of stuff is what turned me into an atheist. I just didn't like, after listening to all these guys, I just didn't like the what I would feel lack of evidence. But what I mean, okay, I'm not. What? Is there a dog barking?
Jacob.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
I asked you what credible evidence there was that converted you from an atheist to a Christian. And I challenge you and anybody else to go back and rewind and replay the words that came out of your mouth and find an actual sentence. Because what you said was, I was doing my studies, there's a minister, it's ministry, I had a personal experience. Not that it's not even a cogent thought. You didn't even make even the slightest attempt to say, here's what convinced me.
Yeah. Okay. Well, but when I say ministry, I just mean information, Matt. So what convinced me is not only just information, biblical information. You know, I don't want to argue the Bible with you because I know you don't respect the Bible as an authority. So it's hard for me to answer.
No, you don't want to argue it because you know I know it better than you do. I don't accept it as an authority.
Very well.
I don't accept it as an authority. But what I said was, I wanted you to provide. Here's the thing that kills me, Jacob. I'm an atheist.
Yes,
you claim you were an atheist. You claim you were an atheist because of, well, evidently you just didn't like a lack of evidence that you thought and weren't an atheist for the same reasons. If I became a Christian tomorrow, okay? Now think carefully before you answer. If I became a Christian tomorrow, do you think there's a chance in hell that I would not be able to put together cogent sentences describing to all of my atheist friends exactly what compelled me to change my mind?
Scriptures in the Bible and the relationship, a humbly.
You're not listening. You're not listening. You don't give a fuck, Jacob. And that's why you're a believer again.
By the
I
way,
just asked you a serious question that exposes an important truth. And your response was to say there's scripture in the Bible. That sentence doesn't even make sense.
Had a personal supernatural experience based off of exercising faith in the text. That's my truth, though. So I'm not a liar. I'm not going to be intellectually dishonest. That is my,
You are being intellectually dishonest because you still haven't answered the question either of the questions that I asked you, and now you're claiming you had a supernatural experience. How can you demonstrate? How can you prove that an experience you had was in fact supernatural?
How can I? You know what? You can't. I don't think you can.
Correct. You can't. So if you can't prove it's supernatural, why on earth are you claiming it's supernatural?
You have to experience it, man. I can't prove that to you.
No, sir. It doesn't matter whether you experience it or not. You can't prove it to yourself that it's supernatural. You can't demonstrate it to yourself or anyone else. So why do you get to claim it's supernatural if you can't prove it?
I can't demonstrate. No, I can't demonstrate to someone else. Right. That's entirely true. I can't have the supernatural.
You can't demonstrate to yourself that it's supernatural, because if you could demonstrate it to yourself, you could demonstrate it to somebody else. There is currently no known way to demonstrate any supernatural causation anywhere in the world.
By the
facts of reality and science. And if you don't have something to rebut it, what is your mechanism? What method did you use to determine that a cause for something you experienced was in fact supernatural? What method?
I mean, I can't. You're right, man. I can't say. I
know I'm right.
I ain't fake.
And that's why when I asked you if you could present us with the thing that changed your mind, you punted, you bunted. You didn't offer anything. And when I asked you if you thought that this scenario was remotely possible, where if I changed my mind that I wouldn't have an answer, you completely avoided that question.
No. Hold on. No, I do have an answer, man. The answer wouldn't be accepted to an atheist. That's the point.
Oh my God. You're not listening to me, Jacob. Would you stop talking and listen to this question very carefully?
Yes, sir.
If I were to become a Christian tonight, do you think there's any chance in hell that first thing tomorrow I would be unable to explain in cogent, rational, defensible concepts to all of my atheist friends exactly why I'm now a Christian?
No, I don't think. No, I agree. I mean, I understand what you're saying.
So
if answer, problem solved, I think.
There you go.
The thing is, it's what's rational to you, man. It's not.
No, sir. No, sir. No, sir, Jacob. Rational is not rational to individual. Things aren't true for you. They're not rational for you. They are either true or not true. They are either rational or not rational. You can keep doing all this defensive crap, but the truth is, you don't have a good reason. You can't give a good reason. You just acknowledge that if I changed my mind, I would be able to give a good reason, which further betrays the fact that you don't have good reason for your belief.
Not true, brother. It's not true. I mean, it's been.
Well, you can say it's not true all damn day, but then give the good reason. Right now, give the good reason or admit that you don't have one.
The universe, Matt, is a good reason to at least give it a try. Look at the
We're not getting anywhere with this. I mean, if I experience something very extraordinary, with everything that I know, I'm a psychology student, and I'm really interested in different psychological conditions. And if I experience something that is extraordinary, I would still not think that that was something supernatural. I would be convinced. I would think that something is wrong with me, and I need to take care of myself and get some help for that. And that's not my fault. I know that people experience all kinds of different things and try to tell themselves that what they experience is true when it's not. People have hallucinations. Our brain is not something that can be that is 100% reliable on its own, which is why we need to appeal to different people and different methods in order to verify what is true and what is not true. You yourself are not necessarily the most reliable source of information, and I'm talking about everybody. I myself am not the most reliable source of information for all the facts in the world. It simply doesn't work that way. That's why we have methods to verify information.
Of course.
You say, of course, Jacob. I don't believe you. I have zero respect for what you're saying, and I don't believe you. And it's because you keep demonstrating that you're not listening and you're not pausing to think about the questions. Because I said that you didn't have a good reason and couldn't give a good reason for belief. And the next words out of your mouth was, the universe, man, the universe is a good reason to at least give it a try. Well, that's not a reason for belief. It's insulting to suggest that other people haven't given it a try. I gave it plenty of tries. And then I began to learn how evidence works and what the burden of proof is. And I learned that there's no way to confirm supernatural causation currently. And I learned after years and years and years of listening to people like you call in and talk about how they used to be an atheist and now they're a Christian, but they can't give one fucking even remotely reasonable reason for it.
I think we are done here.
Yeah, you have to curse me out. I don't have to curse you out.
I didn't have to curse you out, and you don't get to tell me what fucking words I can use on my own fucking show. I'm sorry that you got backed into a corner and had to acknowledge that you don't have any good reason, but you don't get to tell me how to talk. Goodbye.
Thank you, Jacob.
Yeah.
By the way, I want to establish the example that I gave earlier about a leg descending from the sky. I want to call it the miracle of the descending leg. You can
Miracle
remember
of the descending leg.
Yeah. So if something like that ever happens, please use that, and I'll be very happy to witness that.
I like it because that would be an incredibly good indication that at least something is going on.
Something is wrong here. Yeah.
Yeah. It'd be a start. It wouldn't on its own confirm a God.
Yeah.
I actually had this argument in a debate that I did with Mike Lacona on the resurrection, because he suggested that if we watched someone's head get cut off and then they came walking into the other room to greet us and their head was back on, that would be a resurrection. And I was like, absolutely. I agree that we would have good reason that a resurrection occurred, but we wouldn't know how or why a resurrection occurred.
Yeah. That's why I'm saying, even if something like that happened, that's a sign that something is going on. There's something more to this, but that's it. We still have to figure out what exactly is wrong.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. We have, ooh, wow. Something wild happened with my mouse there. I got all kinds of weird stuff going on with,
do you want help?
Call screen or whatever else. No, I want Ben to get in here because Ben, pronouns are he, him, in Texas, wants to talk about the lies of Muslim apologists. And I have no expertise here, so I get to stay quiet.
Okay. Does it work? Do you want me to drag them in or? Oh, okay.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow, I cannot believe I'm talking to you guys. Wow, I'm a big fan. I never called any show. This is my first time, so it's
Welcome.
my nervousness.
You picked a good week. Don't be nervous.
Thank
Apostate Prophet's really nice.
We're very happy to have you here, and we're just humans. So,
Thank you, AP. Thank you. I'm a big fan of you guys. I'm Moroccan. I'm an ex-Muslim. I speak Arabic fluently. So when I see like Muslims apologists, especially people like Muhammad Hijab, who speaks Arabic, the amount of lives they lied to people that don't speak Arabic is unbelievable. I mean, I'm sure you know that, AP. You have experience with it, especially with Muhammad Hijab. I mean,
yeah.
I just what else I want to say? It's, I mean, like, for example, about, I don't know if you know, Matt, that, like in Islam, in Quran, there is a verse says, Walla ila mahidi, which means that, like a girl before puberty can get married. And so all authentic explanations of Islam agree, but a lot of them lies about this stuff. Do you know about this, AP?
Yeah, I think I know what you're referring to. It's a discussion that the person you mentioned. I don't want to give specific people too much attention right now, but it's a discussion about marrying, and it talks about those wives who had their those wives who have not had their puberty yet, or something like not puberty, who didn't menstruate yet. That's what the Quran says, I believe, right?
Which means before the little girls, before they get to puberty. That verse is talking about the divorce, by the way. So the girl before, which is ridiculous. You know that this verse, I start questioning my belief with this verse. I could not believe. I had to search and search. I could not believe the creator of universe say something like that.
Can I quickly clarify for everyone who is viewing and who doesn't understand the context what we're talking about? So what Ben means here is that the Quran actually has a verse which talks about what to do when divorcing your wife, and it talks about those who have their periods, and then it talks about those who did not experience their puberty yet. And when you read the Quran itself, it very much indicates that you can marry children that didn't have their puberty yet. So it basically allows, in that context, child marriage, and there is nothing in the Quran that gives you a minimum age for marriage. So if you look at the Quran itself, you get the idea that it allows child marriage. That's the topic.
Thank you, AP. I appreciate you. You said it the best. And look, all the authentic books, explanation of Quran, I mean, all of them, no exception, the same explanation. So that's why, I mean, I don't see how they can defend this. It's basically rape. It's not marriage, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like a girl that has 6 years old. Yeah. And one more thing, if you don't mind, guys. Sorry if I. One more thing. I saw Matt debate with that the Muslim guy yesterday. I think it was yesterday, right?
Yeah, it was yesterday.
Yeah, and I want to see, Matt, if you don't mind. Why those theists, like Muslims or Christian apologists, try their best to avoid talking about anything in their Bible or Quran or anything that has to do with Islam? The only thing they want to talk about is the Creator or something. What do you think? Why? I have an answer, but I want to see what you think.
Oh, I think it's because I've heard a number of different apologists in different areas talk about this. For example, Scientologists don't start by telling you about Xenu, the intergalactic overlord, and how your body is covered by Thetans, who were people destroyed in a volcano with nuclear weapons. You need to build up to that. And so I remember a Muslim apologist who said that he much preferred talking to atheists than theists, because the atheist says there is no God, and the Quran says there is no God but Allah. So atheists are already halfway there. And I thought that was a really amusing joke. But the truth is, these apologists are defending really abstract notions that there must have been a creator, because it's impossible for them to defend what's actually in their holy book and the God that they actually believe in. Because if you took the Abdullah, who I debated yesterday, on whether or not there's good evidence for God, he defined God in a very particular way so that he could talk about God as just, here's the answer to why, what serves as a foundation for reality. What non-contingent or non-dependent thing is there? And if you can convince someone of that, then it becomes much easier to glom on the specifics of your God and say, oh, well, here's why ours is better than these other options. Because you've already done all the heavy lifting of getting them to accept, oh, there has to be some God. Now it's just a matter of figuring out which God it is. And the way they define God in the debates is not at all like what they define the specifics of their God when they're actually talking about what they believe.
That's right. They make a claim that that there is an objective, clear definition of what God is, but that's not really the case. They have different definitions of what God actually is, and you go into that once you begin addressing the specific religion itself. But they are merely there to convince you that there is a God, that there must be a God, and they can just do that in whatever way they want, because there is no clear definition for a God. They just make it up as they go.
In my opinion, in my modest opinion, especially the Muslims apologists, they don't like to talk about the specific of their God, because it's all problems. So they try to avoid Islam, Quran problems. They avoid to talk about slavery, sex slaves, the child marriage. In my opinion, I might be wrong. That's why they choose to talk about just if there is a creator or not. So
here's the thing: when discussing whether God exists or not, or whether their religion is true or not, with many apologists, specifically, I experienced this with Muslim apologists. It doesn't really matter to them whether specific moral aspects of their religion disturb you or not, because they think that these moral aspects can somehow be justified or explained or solved later on. They care more about the whole theology and the metaphysics, the nature of things.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, guys. Sorry to waste your time. I really appreciate
it.
it.
It was good. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, have a good one. Bye.
You too. Bye.
I'm going to try to get to a couple more calls before we completely run out of time here.
I'm really disappointed that we never have some Muslim callers who want to challenge us and prove to us that Islam is true. So please, especially when I'm here, I would love to talk to more.
I'm hoping that as word gets out that you are now an official co-host on the Atheist Experience, that we will get more Muslim apologists. I would love for the guy I debated yesterday to actually perhaps call in and explain about the God that he actually believes in. But we have Robert, pronouns are he, him, and Idaho, who wants to make a point about arguing that God exists.
Hi, guys. Thank you very much for taking my call. And I just want to say I admire you. I admire your pursuit for truth. I tune into your show regularly, and I just admire what you guys do. Before I can even say anything, I've got to get your permission to speak in the realm of possibilities or what ifs. I mean, I personally believe God can't be proven in any physical way. There is no basis for it. You have to just accept it by faith. So saying that, I would like to say what I have to say, but I
don't know what you, all right. So I can't, we've only got a couple minutes left on the show. And if you're calling in and your position is there's no way to demonstrate the truth that a God exists, and yet you believe in a God anyway, then why would I want to hear what you have to say?
Well, this is the reason, because every God from every religion I've ever looked at, I would not want to embrace. But my own personal beliefs, what I've come to understand as what God is, I would want to embrace. And that's really the whole.
Yeah, but I don't care. You might as well be telling me how much you've invented your own God and he's really warm and squishy, but you can't prove him any more than you can prove anything else, which makes it a waste of time. So absolutely, to say, here's something that I believe to be the case, but there's no way for anybody to demonstrate it, is not only a waste of time, it's an admission that you are being irrational and you're okay with it. I'm not.
Well, I guess the only basis I have I understand, Matt, that's a really good point, but the only basis I have in my own personal life is my actions, my deeds, my thoughts, the things that have changed in me personally over the years because of this belief. I don't know.
So first of all, you have no way of demonstrating that changes took place because of a belief. But even if they did take place because of a belief, that doesn't mean that they took place because a belief is true. This is the tap dance that people do when instead of facing the facts of saying, you know what, I can't, there's no reasonable path for me to believe in a God. So I'm just going to get on with my life. It's about being so afraid of saying, I don't believe there's a God, that you have to invent one of your own and simultaneously point out that you cannot and do not have a rational justification for it, but you're going to stick with it anyway. I cannot, in good conscience, as a humanist and as a skeptic, advocate for people knowingly claiming that they believe something which they know to be irrational. My position is that nobody actually believes something that they know to be irrational, that they don't have a good reason for, which means they're instead lying. They're claiming a belief because it's comfortable or comforting. How could you possibly believe something and also say there's no rational justification for believing this, but I believe it anyway?
I guess my response to that would be, if you take out hope and you take out faith.
Who took out hope?
Without those things?
So first of all, no. So first of all, I didn't take out hope. I will take out faith, because faith is the excuse people give for believing something when they don't have a good reason. If you ask someone, why do you believe something? And they have a good reason, they give a good reason. And if they don't have one, they give faith. Faith is not a virtue. Faith needs to be destroyed. But I didn't take away hope.
I have a lot of hope.
I have lots of hope that I will be able to destroy faith in most people.
Yeah. How about hope for an afterlife?
Hey, Robert.
Okay. Hey, how about hope for $1 billion winning lottery ticket tomorrow? Is that wise?
That's a pretty good argument. It might not be wise, but I mean, hope for an afterlife seems like something everybody would want to embrace.
No, actually, I'm not hoping for an afterlife. I'm hoping to live just exactly as long as I can and as long as I want to. But if you sit around in this life focused on an afterlife that you have no good reason to believe that exists, haven't you just wasted every single second you spent on that goal?
I don't know, man. I just don't feel that way.
You don't feel
hope
so.
For an afterlife is a powerful thing for people who have suffered.
Oh yes, it is a powerful thing that allows you to delude yourself with false hope.
Wait a minute. That's only true for you in your context because of your culture. There are people around the world who grow up and live in different cultures that have a completely different perspective on that. To them, life is suffering. They acknowledge that life is suffering, and the ultimate good is actually to let go of it and to attain annihilation, to be released from this cycle of suffering. It's only in your context that you think an afterlife is actually something very good to hope for.
But the fact is, you don't have hope of an afterlife. You have an open, acknowledged self-delusion that gives you false hope of an afterlife.
Well, I mean, I can't argue with that, because as I stated, I don't have any proof for God, and I don't know if any exists. But I believe that anybody who could hope for or who could embrace the idea that an afterlife was going to be a peaceful, wonderful thing, that they would look forward to that and not just.
No. Some of us give a fuck about what's actually real and true, and not about what fantasy we wish were true. Some of us are engaged in reality and would rather not sit around going, gosh, it'd be really nice if I was a billionaire. Gosh, it'd be really nice if there was an afterlife. We have real problems to fix in this life. And you're propping up concepts that foster religions that are working in direct opposition to fixing the problems in the one and only life we know we're going to get. So no.
You know what? I have hope for floating through the universe, through space, while I am conscious. You know, just floating around and all that. I think that would be very peaceful.
Sounds beautiful.
That there is no reason for me to believe that that's going to happen, though. And there's also no reason for me to believe that there will be an afterlife, because I'll be dead. I'll die, and I don't want to think more of myself than that. I will live and I will die, and the world will go on without me. Boo-hoo! I mean, that's all there is to it.
Can I ask one more question then? So
Sure.
All the injustice in this world, all the suffering, there is no balancing of the scale. There's not going to be balancing there. It's just like
if you want a better world, how dare you? How dare you, Robert? If you want a better world, if you want justice, it's up to us. It's up to us to enact justice in this world. If we pawn it off on some kind of fucking karmic bullshit, there's not a proposed, like the Christian afterlife isn't justice. It doesn't mean that the good people get good rewards and the bad people get bad rewards. That's not what Christianity's afterlife is. There's very few afterlives that actually take that sort of thing into consideration. But as far as we know, if you want justice, you need to work on it now, not hope that it happens in an afterlife. It is the pinnacle of procrastination and laziness and arrogance to hope for an afterlife that will fix the shit you're not fixing now.
Right. I actually appreciate that, but just for the record, I don't believe in an afterlife where people get separated, hell, heaven, all that stuff.
I don't care. I don't care what you believe in, because you have no way to demonstrate that any of it's true. You might as well be calling in to tell me that, I don't believe that fairies created the universe. Nobody asked. I care about what people can demonstrate true.
You know what's very funny? Many people told me before, when I say I'm an atheist, people say, "So do you believe that all the injustice in the world will just go unpunished, or do you think that all the good things that people have done will just go unnoticed and stay like that?" Yeah, I mean, what exactly am I expecting? People often give the example of Hitler, for example. They say, "Oh, do you think Hitler, who is responsible for the killing of millions of people, will just go unpunished?" Well, yeah. I'm sorry, but why exactly is it the rational thing to expect that he will, of course, be punished in an afterlife? What exactly do I get from that? What exactly does anyone get from that? He existed. He was a terrible human being. He did horrible things to people. He caused a lot of suffering, and then he died. If he now goes to a place where he's punished and tortured for all that, what exactly does that do? Does that make things better? Does that give me peace? Will that make me happier? Will that put things in order again? It won't. It won't do anything. It's a very, sorry to say, childish idea, in my opinion. There simply is no reason to assume that there is some justice after death.
Somebody in chat reminded me that I frequently ask, "What do you believe and why?" And that's true. But if the answer for why is I can't demonstrate the truth of it to anybody, I no longer give a fuck.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Apostate Prophet's point is great, because let's assume that the people who did wrong get punished in some afterlife. That does nothing for any of us right now. It's the same thing with notions about God forgiving somebody, and this is nothing new. I think one of the founding fathers said something along the lines: if Jones owes me $5 and God forgives him, that doesn't help me at all. The party that's been wrong gets nothing out of God's forgiveness, and the party that's been wrong gets nothing out of a God's punishment. The notion of an afterlife that can bring justice is a lie. Even if there is an afterlife, it doesn't bring justice.
Well, Matt, since you made that point, can I just make one point on a possibility? Do you mind?
Nope. We got one more call.
I think we really have no time.
But you can call back next week and make a point on a possibility.
Thank you, Robert.
And a final caller for today, because we've run over time, but I wanted to at least, this question was intriguing. So Jamie, pronouns are she, her in Alabama, has question or a comment about elevated emotion and why atheists don't experience. So welcome, Jamie.
That wasn't quite phrased right. It's the elevation emotion. I was raised in a very, very religious home, and through reason, I got rid of most of it. But what they called the Holy Spirit, I didn't have another explanation for, because I was taught to call that feeling the Holy Spirit. And to me, it seemed as objective as feeling cold, because it's something you actually feel. And if you ask me, how do I know it's cold outside? I would have said, well, I was just out there. It's cold. I don't need a thermometer to let you know that it's cold outside.
Well, I don't think cold is an emotion. Cold isn't an emotion.
Can you describe what you mean, what it is that you are feeling, which you equate to the Holy Spirit?
Yeah, what I didn't have another explanation for it. And I later learned that that feeling is something that people call the elevation emotion. And that elevation emotion is predictable. It happens in religious settings. And if I would have known another way to explain that emotion, I think I could have let go of my theist beliefs a lot earlier than I did. So it seemed to me that it would be more beneficial for atheists to identify what they call the Holy Spirit to be this naturally occurring emotion that has been studied, which can
but we can't.
And that there's nothing super. Well, you can. There's brain waves that show when someone's experiencing.
You can't. So
There's
Jamie, here's the problem. And I only do this because we're short on time. There's no way to prove that elevation, the emotion, is being mislabeled as the Holy Spirit. Because how do you prove that the Holy Spirit isn't real and causing the elevation emotion?
Well, you can't prove it, but if I would have had another way to explain that feeling.
Okay, but you don't have an explanation. You don't have another explanation. You just know what you experienced. You don't know why. That's the problem. So the God prospects are unfalsifiable. And when somebody says, oh, that feeling you're feeling, that's the Holy Spirit. Well, the fact that I'm feeling a feeling is true. Whether or not it's the Holy Spirit, they can't prove and you can't disprove. And so while I understand what you're saying, and I agree with you that it would have been nice, and people might be, when people are in church and they experience that elevation and other emotions as well, the euphoric experience, and the people around them say, that's the Holy Spirit. It would be nice if there was a way for them to say, hang on, we don't know that. But it's a mistake to say, we know that's not true. The most we can do is say, we don't have any good reason to think it is true. But you're right that the emotions that we experience that are being co-opted by religion. I think the strongest thing that we could do is say elevation is an emotion that non-religious people experience as well.
And I think it would be helpful if atheists said stuff like that more often, rather than simply saying, you can't prove that this is the Holy Spirit. If we could talk about how it is experienced in many settings that aren't tied to religion.
Yeah, I don't know how often we have to bring it up. I've talked about this in a really specific context in which I've said that all those things feelings that I used to experience that people would say were the Holy Spirit, turns out I felt some of those same emotions in a qualitative way from drugs, from sex, from art, from, good books, movies. I guess all that counts as art. From, watching people perform good actions, helping others and things like that. I think we could probably talk about it more. I don't know that it necessarily fits in with what we do on Atheist Experience more, because here we're just debating, and I don't get that many people calling in to say, I've felt the Holy Spirit, because my response to that is, okay, I thought I felt the Holy Spirit as well, and then I later learned I had no good reason to reach that conclusion. What's your good reason? And they don't seem to have one. I don't know what else to do beyond that.
I do my part as an ex-Muslim. Often when people talk to me about how Christianity is true because of their experiences with the Holy Spirit and all that, I try to give them an example from my own past. I was part of a very religious community and of a very mysticist community with some very emotionally intense rituals and practices. And when I had a lot of faith in them, and I was in gatherings where I participated in things that included chanting, for example, I had such experiences, such an amazing feeling. I thought this is the best thing that I have ever felt in my whole life. And the issue is, this is the exact same thing that Christians describe to me with their, with their experience with the Holy Spirit. I mean, it's the elevation emotion that we're talking about, and it can't be true that. That they're experiencing something because it is true, because they are connected to the right thing. But I'm also at the same time experiencing something, the same thing, while being connected to the wrong thing. On the other hand, I'm also experiencing the same thing when I go for a walk on a nice day and I look at the sky, because I feel like I'm taking my mind off myself and connecting with the world around me. So I don't know.
Yeah. On that note, Jamie, thanks so much for the call. I appreciate you waiting so long for all that. And we are way past time, though, and I have to move on because I don't get to hold all of our crew hostage.
Okay. Have a good day.
Thanks.
Thank you.
On that note, so first of all, I love when people call into the show. I do want to know what they believe and why. The why is the most important part. If you're just calling in to say what you believe and you have zero reason and zero motive or incentive to defend that belief or explain it to somebody else, don't call. If your view is, I have no good reason to believe this, I can't demonstrate it to anybody, I just believe, cool, go get yourself a friend. I'm not your friend. I can be friendly and I can be a prick. And all the determining factor is, when I ask a question, did you attempt to answer it honestly? And when we asked you what you believed and why, did you focus solely on the what, or did you actually try to get some why? There are people who are convinced that they have good reasons, but have no way to articulate it. I'm really genuinely sorry that they don't, because I would love to hear those good reasons. And there are people who are convinced that their personal experiences are good enough reason. I'm not, and neither are they, because the truth is, all we would have to do to rebut that is say that we've had a personal experience that is the opposite of theirs, that demonstrates that theirs can't be true. So now we've got dueling personal experiences. How do we resolve that? We need something more. I do care about what people believe, but I mostly care about the why. Some people, the ones that confuse me the most, the ones that irritate me the most, are the ones that seem to say, I recognize I don't have a good reason, but I'm going to keep believing anyway. That is something that just, it's a failing of mine, perhaps, that this cannot make sense. Belief isn't a choice. And I'm one of those people that cares about whether or not my beliefs are true. I don't understand people who don't care about whether their beliefs are true. And then those are the people that are most likely to proclaim truth. Science doesn't proclaim truth. Science makes tentative models that are the best current available descriptions of the universe we inhabit, and they get revised when there's new information. Science doesn't come out and say, this is true, and this is true absolutely. And yet individuals are, I know that it was supernatural. No, you don't. I know that God did this for me. No, you don't. If you know it, to quote my friend Aaron Ra, you can show it. And as I mentioned in that call earlier, and I make this promise, if ever I become convinced that there is a God, assuming that the ACA doesn't immediately bar me from the show, I will sit right here on the Atheist Experience and explain in detail what changed my mind. Because we know with almost extreme confidence that even if I were to change my mind about a God, I'm not going to start denying all of the logic and reason and burden of proof and epistemology that I've been talking about on here for 17 plus years. So maybe that's why God refuses to reveal himself to me, because he knows I would tell you all the truth, that while perhaps I have a reason to believe, you don't. Maybe God is running away, just like all of his representatives are running away from actually defending the why behind their belief. I don't know. But I do know that I'm really looking forward to getting more current Muslim callers defending Islam, especially while we've got Apostate Prophet here.
Please.
But more than
do.
anything, I'm looking forward to coming back and doing this all again week after week after week, because these conversations are important. Minds do get changed. And sometimes, evidently, they change back without any good reason. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
What will it take for you to start opening your eyes, to start questioning the bullshit everyone around you buys? You think it's any of your business what goes on between my thighs? I wonder when we'll be rid of your lies.
It's time to get sexy, so watch Secular Sexuality live Thursdays at 7 p.m. Central. Visit tiny.cc/YTSS and call into the show at 512-991-9242 or connect to the show online at tiny.cc/callsex.